Well, hello there, Triumph Siberia jury. We have three of you lovelies. We're going to have some more people join us, but we will begin with you all. And while you're here, I'll repeat this as more people come. Of course, we want to be respectful. It is now your job as the jury to decide who will be the next winner of Triumph. You each get a vote. Everybody's vote counts. And we hope you take the time tonight to discuss the different pieces of their games that you've all learned from your own angles. And just talk about it with each other. I will be shutting up unless I need to intervene and let you guys freely talk. Hold on, we do have somebody else coming. So I'm gonna start talking. This is
I
James
think this should
or
just be the
Jordan.
final three.
Do we think it's James or Jordan? Which one do we get? Yes, James.
Ah, it's James. Okay, perfect.
Okay, so
Hey,
hi, welcome.
how we
I'm doing my
doing?
spiel here. So I was saying that you guys are charged with picking the next winner of Triumph. And
Uh-huh.
I'm just gonna let you guys talk and decide how you want to discuss it. Some people go player by player, some people go category by category in terms of talking about their social, comparing them to each other, their strategic, comparing them to each other, and their social, strategic, physical, and physical, comparing them to each other. And especially where you're going to have people coming later, it might help if you do it that way so that you still will talk about each of them again when you're doing the different categories, but it's up to you. We will ask that you, of course, respect Triumph and Triumph rules, that we are respectful to each other, we are kind. You may not like the game moves that somebody made, and you're willing freely, and of course, expected to say that here. This will be recorded, they will see it later. But also, we don't condone any comments about people as a person, about their appearance, about who they are. Your comments should be directed toward their gameplay and your opinions about their gameplay only. If I find that you're going beyond the line or going over the line, I will then come off mute and interject and make sure I steer the conversation back to where it needs to be. If it continues to happen, it can result in you being removed from the jury and not having a vote for who the winner of Triumph is. Any questions? All right. We'll let you kick it off. You guys can set the parameters for how you want to do it. You are the four who's going to decide. No one else is here right now. So whatever you guys set it up in terms of how you want to go through your night, the other people, as they start joining, will kind of have to follow that flow, right? So you guys decide how you want to do your jury roundtable.
Awesome.
Sure. Can I just say quickly before we get started, just because I've not really had the chance to say anything to Dave yet, since you joined us here on the jury, I just wanted to say hi.
Are
Nice.
you gonna tell me not to read the jury chat because too late?
Dave, like honestly, I everything I said in the jury chat about your game, like I personally meant. That doesn't mean that I did like that. I know that other people disagree. I still, do you know what I mean? I still really enjoyed playing the game with you, nonetheless.
I was just poking fun at you, James.
All
No hard feelings.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think I played the game like a bit of a twat, but I don't think that's a reflection on me personally. So, yeah, I had fun playing with you. I just wanted to say hey, because part of me does wish that you made it to the end, over some of the people, who were there just purely from a game perspective. But
I can
yeah.
see why. Like, not to be like self-congratulatory or something, but I can see why.
But we'll stop there and get you to start talking about the three people who are in the final. That's
Okay. Yeah.
that conversation in the jury chat.
Okay.
Okay, so how do we want to do it? Do we want to do like
I don't have a preference, just whatever.
okay. I like what Keisha said where we talk about like the different categories and like how each person played like that, I guess. Because like people are gonna come in and out. So I feel bad if we talk about like one person incomplete and then someone comes in and they have like points to make about somebody and they like aren't here to do so.
What categories would you divide it up into then?
Like
Social, strategic, and physical.
Yeah, like those three.
Okay. Okay. Sure. And then maybe we talk about like the pros and cons of each person's social game, each person's
I
strategic
like
game, each
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, fantastic. And we'll go around the circle one at a time and see what each
Yeah.
person has to say about. Fantastic. Well, where do you guys think we should start? Social, strategic, or physical?
I mean, I feel like physical is probably the easiest one to get through, and the
Yeah.
ones that
Okay.
no matter who comes in, they're all probably gonna agree with everything that we said anyways. So
Yeah,
let's
that's
get
true.
that out of the way.
Sure.
So
Pick a
Tasha.
person.
Okay, so Tasha, let's start with Tasha because I feel like she's not won an individual immunity. The other two have, so I feel like there's more to talk about with those. Um, Tasha's physical game. I feel like it was not that great.
No, there's not much to say there. Um,
All I can think of with Tasha's physical game off the top of my head is like the breaking the ice. with, like,
Stop
the-
me too. That was the first thought I
however
had
long
too,
it
Laura.
took her to do it.
It was like 17
She
minutes or
definitely
something.
was not competition strong.
No, definitely not.
no, but she did do better in some comps than I thought she would. Do you know what I mean? Like based on the 17 minutes on the ice thing. I remember the next one was the flip cup, like the Russian dolls thing. And she was only 20 seconds behind me. She took like 2.5 minutes, which I thought was really impressive because it's when I heard that someone had timed out, no offense, Dave, I thought it was going to be Tasha. So do you know what I mean? That is to say that she did surpass my expectations sometimes.
I don't really have much to say on her physical game, I'm not gonna lie. I feel like I did the one challenge with her pre-merge, and then like for the challenges that I was in the merge for, a lot of them like touchy subjects, I feel like she didn't do that well on. The ice thing, she did not do well on, and then it was like the auction. I think those were like the only three merge challenges that I was present for, or challenges, I should say. So I don't have much to say on her with her physical game other than I didn't think it was.
Well,
I mean,
I
I
would ask you
feel like the next few that you weren't here for were like the tower building, which she dropped before it started,
Okay.
and the final immunity, which she dropped after like 5 seconds or something. So
The final immunity with like the cups with the ping pong ball on it
yeah.
with your arms extended. I actually went back to that video. Before the countdown had finished, she dropped her ball and she couldn't get it out. So that's why she got eliminated
Mm,
from that.
okay.
well,
I
I would
feel
ask you
like
guys.
also she was probably aware that it was never going to be a strong suit, and
Uh-huh.
she never relied on it because she was like self-aware enough for that. Like I'll
I
give her props for that.
I agree with
uh-huh.
that.
I agree as well. I would ask you guys, do you it, is that going to be like a point of question for you guys? Are you guys thinking of asking Tasha any questions at Final Tribal Council related to um her physical game? Because me personally, just to touch on what Dave said there, it's not something that I would really ask her about purely because I don't think that that was something that she ever really factored in, knowing that that was not an area in which she excelled.
Yeah, I agree with that because I feel like she's very aware that she like was not good at challenges. So,
There we go.
do we want to move on to somebody else? Or does anyone else have anything else to say about her physical game or
Not particularly.
okay. So I guess we could move on to somebody else. Do we want to do like Juan or Andrew first?
Maybe we say Andrew
Okay.
next. Um, I think he's an interesting one. I think that he is relatively middle of the pack or maybe like above average in terms of comps.
Hmm.
I don't think he's quite like a comp beast like I would say people like Brady and Juan and Duke were. I think were the names that come to mind when I think of people who really ace the comps. And Dave, of course, obviously, duh, Dave fucking smashed them. Dave comp beast of the season, but yeah, and Andrew definitely pulled out some sneaky immunity wins. Honestly, at times when that immunity win really benefited him at the time, and even when he wasn't winning immunities, there's a couple of times when he came like a close second or third.
Yeah, I feel like he was very decent in challenges. I mean, like the ice thing, he did it in like 4 seconds. That was the
The ice
craziest
thing
thing
he
I've
got
ever
lucky.
seen.
The ice thing he
Yeah,
literally got lucky because the coin froze to his ice. That's all that was.
which is crazy. I was
I think
shook
that was
And he killed the final 5 immunity. Like seriously,
Mhm.
I was still staring at that color puzzle when he already solved it. I was like, well,
what
I'm gonna
was
give
the
him
puzzle?
What? Yeah. What exactly? What's the puzzle?
that. Keisha, can I share it with them?
Oh yeah, you can tell 'em.
Ah, cool. I'll pull it up and I'll put it in the chat.
I would love to see what the puzzle was. You said it was some kind of color puzzle. Was it one where like you had to like not have the colors touching?
No, it's like
Or
matching the letters with the
Y'all.
colors.
Hi.
hi, Michael.
Hey.
Welcome, Michael. Just a brief summary of the rules. Your tri-mates or jury mates have already decided and established how you will do jury. They will go over that with you. And remember, we're going to be respectful. If I find that you're going over the line, I will interrupt. We're going to talk about the players and their game only, not about the players and their appearance or anything to do with personal things. Thank you. Bye.
I love the little spiel.
Yeah, so what we're doing, Michael, is we split up the categories as like social, physical, and strategic. So that way we can like talk about each person's pros and cons for each section. And that way, like when people join late, if they had anything to say about somebody that we missed, they could do it that way. So we're talking about like physical right now, and we talked
Mhm.
about Tasha's so far and how like it wasn't really great. Um, and that she seems pretty aware of that. And now we were talking about Michael or Andrews. I don't know if you have, we were talking about yours.
Yeah, clearly.
I don't know if you had anything to say about Tasha's or what, but
Physical. No, I mean, I personally am like probably not like in terms of physical, I'm probably like that stands out the least to me. Like I don't really care as much about physical, but it's important to the game. Like, so Tasha's was like I think Andrew and Juan definitely had more of a strategic, more of a physical presence than Tasha did, just with challenges.
Yeah, for me, physical game doesn't really matter as much if you're able to strategize and be social around like what you're doing.
Yeah,
Like,
being aware of your strengths and weaknesses is important. Mhm.
I agree. Yes, we were talking about Andrews now, and Dave posted in the chat what the final 5
with like the color
immunity puzzle
puzzle.
was, which Andrew destroyed. So, and looking at that is giving me a headache, honestly. So,
Right.
I have no idea what that is, but okay.
That's the straight
Good
and
for
the flag
Andrew.
and the K flag,
Oh,
right?
I've seen something similar to this.
What do you
That
say,
straight
Michael?
is that the straight flag and the gay flag?
Oh my God.
Kind
what
of,
I'm talking
sort
about.
of, but not really.
I've seen something similar to this. You just have to take the letters, see what it is, and then like plug it in, and
Yeah,
it spells
exactly.
something out.
Yeah, no, Andrew had a good physical game. I mean, like I know everyone talks about Juan's endurance, which was great, right? Like Juan had a great physical game. We saw that 9 minute thing, like even pre-merge, and we all knew. But I think Andrew's physical game was actually pretty good too. I mean, I remember losing to him in that little cup thing, and I was like, "Damn, Andrew." Um, so I think that's important too. We had to do the little challenges head to heads, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Andrew had a pretty good physical game. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like he was like James was saying before that he was like above average, and like I agree with that. How many individual immunities did he win? Is it
Uh,
2?
2.
Oh.
Two.
Okay.
How many did Juan win?
I don't know.
One definitely strikes me as being the best physically of the three.
Juan also won 2, I think.
If not two. Yeah.
He won 3 with the
He-
last one.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. I forgot about Final Tribal. So he did
yeah,
win 3, yeah.
he won 3. I think all of them. Well, wait. I know 2 of them were at least endurance style thing because there was the endurance thing at the end of the higher lower thing,
Mhm.
and then there was the final immunity. Both of those were endurance. What was the other challenge that won?
Oh wait, I think he did win 2.
Did he win a third
Because
one?
the third one he won was the wall set tiebreaker.
And that was a tribe thing. That
Oh,
wasn't.
that was a tribe thing. Yeah. Okay. So
Mm.
he did only win 2. Okay, so they're even, technically,
But any tiebreakers?
right?
Not to like
Okay.
go against Andrew for that, but like
Yeah.
you know. I think
Okay.
they're pretty like close to even.
Yeah. I feel like people are saying he was better with endurance one and Andrew was better with like puzzles and stuff like that, I guess. So like the two different aspects of challenges, I guess, too. Um,
Andrew did some
Uh,
skill stuff though, like that cup thing. Sorry, you can go, James.
No, it's okay. What I was going to say, and I don't want to sort of touch too much on the strategic element, but I do think it definitely comes into the physical part is um obviously everybody knew that one was good in endurance challenges, and it became pretty like public information in the run up to Final Four immunity that Final Four is always an endurance challenge. So the fact that they pretty much allowed one into Final Four immunity, knowing that he was a shoe in for to then make Final Three,
Right.
is definitely something to be considered. You know what I mean? Like Andrew and Tasha knew that that was going to happen and didn't
mhm.
really stop that because I mean Kyle, I believe, had called it out. I don't know if I mean Laura, Dave, correct me if I'm wrong. It might have been somebody else, but
I had mentioned at some point that Kyle G had told me that the call or whatever that he got from the auction, he was told that Final Four was always endurance, and so I was using that information. I don't remember if I specifically told Andrew or Tasha about it, but I do remember I mentioned it to Dave. Um, definitely. So
So I have a question about Final Five. What were the was it 2-1, 3 Kyle?
It
I,
was 4-1. I talked to Kyle before the vote, and
Oh, 4 and Kyle.
yeah,
yeah, Dave ended up voting for Kyle.
Because yeah, my
yeah,
my
because there was
I,
no point. They were on a group voice chat together, and they were just
Mhm.
icing him out. So I was
Yeah.
like you know what's coming,
Like
and then he just
at,
didn't
at
care.
that point there was no. I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess my feeling is like I get Final Six. I get Andrew's fear of Final Six, right? Fine, right? Which but why? If you know, I guess he didn't believe what Kyle said about it. Fine, but like, why not take someone who's not as good at endurance at Final Four? I mean, even if he has a straight shot at winning the game, just beat him at Final Four and
Because like I
it'll
know
count four.
Because I know Kyle straight up said at the Final
Yeah,
Five tribal, like his shoulder was messed up, and then it's
yeah.
like, well, the Final Four with holding your arms out like that, it would require your shoulders. Granted, they didn't know exactly what the competition would be, but it's still, I don't know. It just to me, it didn't make sense to take Juan into that situation.
I can probably add to that too, because Laura, Andrew did know it was going to be endurance. We looked up the challenges on YouTube together. We knew it was one of the two possible challenges. And I also got in a fight with Andrew at Final Six because of that, because I told him we were losing the game if one was staying. But his argument was that Kyle was lying all along about having shoulder surgery and that he was just like biding his time to win the Final Four endurance.
Really?
See, I can see why he's thinking that, but Kyle, actually, you guys can refute me, but from what I saw, like, obviously I was like, Kyle's social. But in terms of lies, like, Kyle actually was pretty straight up about stuff in the game.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It seems to me more so like that if anybody in the game was doing barefaced lying, it was Andrew. And I say that as somebody like I respect the fuck out of that. I love
Right.
barefaced lying. I think it's so fun, so much better than like just exaggerating the truth, because that's what I did because I didn't know if I'd be able to sort of maintain those lies. I love someone who's not afraid to just fucking lie to your face.
I didn't
It's
vote out
so
Nick.
good to see. It's so good.
Shut up. Okay, so do we want to move on to
Yeah.
I guess we're not talking about challenges anymore. So do we want to talk about
I guess one more thing I wanted to add
okay.
was that my thing about bringing up Kyle being straight up was, I guess that was a little bit of a bad read on Andrew's part.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thinking that, but also I guess you could say
like,
that about Juan, but maybe
lying
not.
about surgery and like having scars from surgeries on your shoulders, like that's taking orgs really far. Like at
I mean,
this
I would
point,
do
you
that
deserve
shit.
to win if you've been lying all along. Like it's a long
But-
con.
I
But
would do
when-
that shit. I get it, but like, I knew Kyle would.
Dramatics.
But whether or not like Andrew actually believed that Kyle was lying, Andrew still knew either way that there was a good chance that one was winning that Final Four immunity, and therefore thought that he could be one in the end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're reading that correctly in my opinion, James, because like why else would he
And I think one of the things that I'm going to focus on in my questioning is the whole final six round, because Andrew did straight up tell me, yes, it does benefit his game to go to rocks for one. So I'm like, okay, I want him to elaborate on that. And I want Tasha to elaborate on it too, because they both went to rocks for him.
they did? Okay, so do we want to talk about strategic or social first?
I feel like it's been leaning more into strategic.
Okay,
game.
so let's do
So-
strategic. I feel like we've been talking a lot about Andrew, so do we want to continue to talk about Andrew so we can get it all out? Like,
Maybe we just talk about Tasha and
Okay.
strategic game.
okay, so let's start with Tasha. So Tasha's strategic game, from my perspective, was that she was loyal to Andrew and Juan, and she kind of just did what they wanted to most of the time, from my perspective.
That's
And
pretty
loyal
much
to Kyle
what
until
I
she wasn't. But
Right.
I want to hear
Yeah.
it at FTC.
Mm-hmm.
I personally don't see much of Tasha's game as of right now. So, I mean, what strategy did Tasha actually have? I'm not seeing it personally as of
I
right
think it's
I don't
largely
know
going to
either.
come down to the way that she answers the questions at Final Tribal Council, and my questions towards Tasha are definitely going to be revolving around that. Like, I want her to explain to me how she played the game, and if she mentioned, and I'll be straight up with her, and I'll say like, if you say anything about loyalty, you're not getting my vote because I've taken shits that were loyaler and more loyalty. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't buy the loyalty thing, because there was about 10 people that she claimed to be loyal to until she wasn't. Do you know what I mean? Like, I want her to, if she says that, and if she says that, that was part of my game strategically, was to allow people to think that I was really tight with them, when in reality I was always going to cut them, then to me that is a fantastic strategic game.
Yeah.
But if it's just a case of she just fell ass backwards into the final three because she was loyal to the two people that would take her there, then you know what I mean? It could very much go either way, from anything from being an absolute mastermind strategic game to being an absolute flop of a strategic game, and that's largely going to come down to how she answers the questions.
Okay, hi
Yeah.
to jury. Your jury mates will explain to you the rules about how they decide to go forward with the jury roundtable. But I just want to add in that we're going to follow the rules as we've outlined for final tribal council and jury. Make sure we're kind, make sure we're not talking about anything to do with the players outside of their game. And if we do cross the line, I will interrupt.
Cool.
Hey, so what we did do, because we split it up into social, strategic, and physical, and like
Okay.
that way we could break everyone's pros and cons down for each. So we kind of already talked about physical for everybody. I don't know if you wanted to like say what you thought about the final three's physical games or hear what we thought real quick, but we were talking about Tasha's strategic game when you walked in. So
Okay. Interesting.
I don't know where you
Um,
want to start, but
I think I didn't hear what you guys said physically about the three of them, but I'm assuming we're saying that Juan definitely took that category in terms of like challenges and just kind of like maybe his it could have been a negative for him just because he showed some physical prowess early on. I think people were a little bit worried about that, but I mean, he was able to get to the Final Four challenge, which was everybody kind of knew from Kyle's
Mhm.
video that, you know, it was going to be endurance and everybody was okay with that. I didn't actually watch the challenge. Was that endurance or what
Yeah.
did he just win?
The final four was endurance. They had to hold two solo cups with ping pong balls on them and have their arms outstretched.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, in terms, I think he dominated that compared to Tasha and Andrew.
Yeah, that's pretty much what we were talking about. And that whole situation of how he got like into the Final Four despite Kyle's message. And like, we talked all about that. So
Yeah.
you're right on point.
One thing I wanted to mention physically that I forgot to mention, I am gonna ask Juan about like how he kept his threat level down despite that, because
Good
a
point.
lot of people were sitting there saying like Juan's gonna win this endurance competition at Final Four and stuff. So like, how did he keep that target off of himself and on to other people? Because obviously he did something right, or he wouldn't be in the final three.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually, Laura.
And it kind of brings us back to the strategic part too,
Mhm.
because like letting Juan get to Final Four, knowing what was coming, is like the biggest red flag in terms of a strategy for everyone. Like everyone was aware of what was coming and they all let it happen. So that's like how we've known since the merge or before, like the wall sit. So like he had time.
Because
They all had time.
he proved himself in the wall sit. He proved himself in the higher lower with that endurance comp, which I forget exactly what that was, but he had already proven himself that to be a good at endurance. So I mean, why'd they let him get that far if we knew it was endurance?
I had a few strategic questions. Obviously there was the one I asked you, Dave, yesterday. That was kind of a lot, but also um,
I can
like
probably elaborate on that if you want. I've had time to write my questions and think about that today.
okay, yeah,
So, and he should
We're talking about the players and not ourselves in our own game.
know the players. Um, I feel like it's a way for him to make things go his way when things don't go his way. So either like threatening to quit, giving up, or like falling on his sword is very Andrew coded. So I
Wait, who are
feel
we
like
talking
there
about?
were things in the game that obviously happened like outside of the game,
Andrew?
and I think we're all aware of it.
Are we talking about Andrew?
yeah. So I guess the question I asked this Dave yesterday because Dave made this the farthest, so I thought Dave would probably be able to best answer this because you were also close with Andrew. So after the Kyle M vote or during the Kyle M vote, Andrew seemed to like check out, had a bad day, like fully was like, I'm removing, like I'm not
Yeah.
I'm good, right? Before that, I had seen Andrew as the strategic mastermind behind the entire game, and running the game. And I wanted to know if after that point, if Andrew kind of fell down and kind of let people kind of pick him up and drag him the rest of the way, or if he actually like picked himself up and said, okay, like where do I go from here and develop my own strategy to make moves and like keep going from here? You know, that's what I was wondering.
I have a few thoughts on that. So I spoke with Andrew because he I think he at least he said to me that he really recognized like the position that he put himself in, and the fact that like he was nearly voted out and there was one vote in it. I think that kind of shook him a little bit, and especially because obviously he had mentioned that when that was all going down, he had a lot on his plate, just in his personal life, which obviously we won't get into. But it meant that he wasn't really sort of able to focus as much on the game. But it really seemed to me as though he did manage to recover quite well, actually. From my conversations with him, he was really putting in a lot of effort to improve out mine and his relationships, and it actually worked. You know, I went from wanting to vote him out, and really trying to get people to do so, and using my extra vote to try and get him out of the game, to ultimately like working with him, wanting to work with him. And I know that, at least from my perspective, it seemed as though a lot of other people were also wanting to work with him as well. So at least from how I saw it, it seemed like he did really well to recover, and in the end was ultimately in a better position than maybe he was even before all of that went down. And as far as I'm aware, he has been on the right side of the votes. I don't know about his voting record exactly, but like on the right side of the votes, in like knowing who's getting the majority of the votes for every single tribal that he's been to. So I think that's really
Sounds about
impressive.
right.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I'll just add to this a little bit, and I don't want to beat a dead horse, and it kind of spoils my question for tomorrow for Andrew. But he also wanted to quit the day after Laura got voted out, to prove his loyalty to Tasha, and then he
Really?
wanted to quit at Final Four, and he sort of kind of wanted to quit at 6 too.
So
But
he said he wanted to quit a few times.
yeah.
That's really bad.
You think he did?
But if he used that, then we respect it. But
What are you gonna ask him about that, Dave?
My question is pretty long for Andrew, unsurprisingly, Nick.
Yeah.
Or actually surprisingly considering this game, but you know, it's gonna be an interesting one. I
Okay.
asked Prod to bet on how many words my question actually was for Andrew, and their bets were so low. It's such a long question.
What do you guys think of, just from a whole, like looking at the final three? Like obviously they were working together for a while, as a trio. Is it hard for you guys to decipher like who was the strategic mind of the three? Like, 'cause
Definitely.
for me, it's like I understand that maybe most people view Juan as the person that you wouldn't want to go to the end with. But do we think that Juan was the actual person coming up with like decisions amongst the three? Because I'd have no idea.
no either.
I don't know
That is
either.
a very good point. I don't actually know who did what in that trio. So, like I've been saying, I'm open to hearing exactly what each person has to say at FTC. I'm definitely leaning towards one as a vote as of right now, but I mean, like, it's Final Tribal. You go in there and you're like, "Oh, I didn't know that," or I didn't know this, I didn't know that," and it's like, "Oh," and it can change your mind. So,
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know either, Duke. I think that's a really good question because I feel like I always thought it was Andrew. But like hearing like things like he wants to quit, and then I feel like he gets like really emotional sometimes, which isn't like a bad thing, but sometimes that like makes me think he's not the one that's driving these votes and like, doing certain things, because like if you were the one like making the plan and putting it into fruition, why are you so anxious? Like,
Right.
I mean, if you're the one doing all the work, you should know that it's actually going to work. So like, why are you so like anxious that like you don't know what's happening, or I don't know. It makes me like second guess his whole like strategy thing. And I guess my thing too is like I feel like I was in like 100 alliances with Andrew, and I was in like one alliance with Juan. So like to me it looked more like Andrew was the one doing all the things and talking to all the people and making all the connections, but like and Juan and Tasha were kind of just like doing what they wanted, but like I don't know, because like hearing all this makes me second guess Andrew's whole like game, I guess, from my perspective.
I never had any
Yeah.
alliances with Juan either. I only had alliances with Andrew too.
Yeah.
I feel like Juan was like more subtle about it. Like when we voted you out, Michael,
Mhm.
like Juan and I had a voice chat and we were talking about it was gonna be you or Brady or Duke. And then we were just like chatting like normal people. And then it's sort of I was pushing for you hardcore. Like I'm not gonna lie, I told them that I wasn't gonna do Duke or Brady, so it was sort of like
Girl,
well,
you're
I
too good.
mean,
Haha.
justice for Nick, right? But
Haha.
I feel like Andrew was more like we have to vote whoever, otherwise they're gonna gun for me, they're gonna take me out, they're gonna vote me out.
Yes. He did do
So
that
it
all the
wasn't more
time.
like let's have a conversation and figure it out together. It was more like I'm gonna just like push you against the wall, force whatever I want to do, and then say like they're coming after me for sure. They're gonna vote me
Okay,
out.
Dave, I really am glad that you brought that up, because I want to talk about that. So, I feel like that happened to the three of us, like me, you, and Michael, when the round that we were gonna vote for you, Duke, that I left, and he was like, I don't like, he was like not having it, and he kept trying to push us to vote James, and the three of us were just like, no, and he like threw a whole fit, and it was like this whole thing. So he just kept being like, we have to vote for James. He's gunning for me. I don't understand. You guys are all clearly working with him if you don't want him out. Like you're working with me, but yet you want James in the game. That's not fair. Like it was like this whole thing. And then after Michael had left the alliance call, it was just me, Dave, and Andrew on there, and we had like a final three. And Andrew went off on me and Dave being like, I thought our final three was so solid. You guys are supposed to be wanting out the people who I want out. It was like the weirdest thing. And like it just made like when I left, I thought Andrew had voted for me just because of that incident where I was sitting there like, holy crap, did that really just make Andrew vote me out? Because like he was that like paranoid of a strategic player, I guess. I don't know. It was very strange. And I feel like I never really seen that out of him pre-merge. Because we were working very closely together the whole pre-merge, and he was very confident and fine. And then it was like the second, like after the sky round, I don't know what was going on. And I was like, who is this? And why are you acting like this? Because you were not acting like this before. So I don't know. It was
And it
interesting.
seems like that continued.
Yeah.
For me, yeah, from for Andrew, like I think that the way what you guys are describing can be viewed as like just kind of like not a great ally, but he's getting his way. But also I just feel like Andrew, no matter what happened, he always had to kind of cover his bait, like cover his tracks and not really give you like the straight up honest, like this is why I did something. He always had like an excuse or a reason for why something went the way
Mhm.
it did if it didn't go his way. And you, for me, I just was never able to like trust anything that he was saying because I just figured he was making something up. So it fit his narrative that he wanted the entire time, which drew me off. I didn't want to work with Andrew because of this. So I could see that it'd be frustrating if you were working closely along with Andrew, but he did like get his way to the end of the game too.
He did. And
So
it's what's interesting too is he leaked that alliance to me and Dave like right away, that him, Tasha, and Juan were in a trio. Like right away he told us, like literally on the swap tribe. So like it's very interesting that he was clearly more loyal to that than he was us. And Andrew was also feeding me and Dave everything Juan was telling him about the idol and stuff like that, like everything. Yet Juan and me like never spoke about the idol ever. So I think it was so interesting because I don't know. I was like, is he telling Juan all of our stuff too? It it was very strange to me, the whole thing, because clearly he was more loyal to them than us, but yet he was leaking all of Juan's stuff to us. I don't
What do
know.
you guys, how would you guys feel if Andrew was like, he just owned up and was like, said, yeah, I just lied about everything to everyone. I leaked everything. Like, would that be something that you guys would reward?
Yeah,
Mad respect.
I would.
I probably would. I'm not gonna lie. I really liked Andrew in the game, like playing with him. I thought he was great. When he had his moments, and it made me be like, dude, just like relax. But I really did like him in the game, I will say. I had a lot of fun with him. And so if he does get up there and he owns that he played and he lied and he, backstabbed people, and I'll eat it up, I'm not gonna lie. But like I want to hear that. I don't want him to go up there and have this like poor me type thing because I'm not gonna like
If
that.
he goes up there and makes excuses and stuff, then like
Right.
Which is what I
He-
think he will do. But I would
Yes.
love to see him
yeah.
own everything. Yeah, it'd be great.
If he actually owns it, then yeah.
And it's weird because like I came into the merged thinking like Andrew was a strategic mastermind, and then left the game thinking Juan was the mastermind. Like, how do you not? I never had any alliances with Juan, yet felt like comforted. I guess like pretty like I was like, oh, Juan and I are good, even though I was like still a little suspect. I was like, oh, so I don't know if that was part of Juan's strategy. That's why I don't know as much about Juan's strategy and want to hear about that. Um, if he really was his mastermind. But then also when I think of like the best representation of this season among the three, I don't know if it's because I knew Andrew the most, but it seems like Andrew comes to mind just because I think of someone like all over the place, and our season was very a lot. And that's why Andrew kind of comes to mind compared to the other two. But that also could just be because I got to know Andrew a little bit more than the other two as well. I don't know. Um,
I can agree with that.
yeah.
I'm very curious to see like what Juan has to say about his strategic game because like I said, I feel like I didn't really see much of it. And it's interesting because like, me and Juan knew each other before this, and like me and him still didn't really talk that much in the game still. So like it was very weird for me because I was like what is he doing? Because he
How
wasn't
how
telling me
close are you
things.
guys?
We're honestly really not that close. Like I swear
Right.
to God, like we do production together, and when we're not doing production together, we're not really speaking to each other. It's like I don't talk to him like that. So like it
Yeah,
is what it is. He was a familiar face for me, but we
yeah.
still
Us
didn't
two,
really
Ty
talk.
and Juan were from the same server.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like I never spoke to any of you guys before this. Well, outside Juan, but like I don't know. I didn't know what Juan was doing, to say the least, because he was not telling me things. And it's funny because like Andrew would come to me and be like, Juan's saying this about the idol, this, that, whatever. But yeah, Juan was not telling me that about the idol. And I was like, what is like this is so weird. Why do I trust Andrew more than Juan right now? I don't know. But like I really want to hear what Juan has to say about what he did and like his influence. Because like I think he was the best social player of the three, and I don't know if we want to like move to social yet or whatever, but like I think I'm very interested to hear what Juan has to say about what he did strategically.
I had one more question about strategic,
Okay.
but and I know it's about Andrew. I'm like, oh, we keep talking about Andrew, but I want
It's
to go on
okay.
too. But someone brought this up in the jury chat, which I found interesting. When we were on our call, Nick, Dave, you were there too. The three of us were on our call with Andrew, and Andrew's pushing hard for James to go. And this was your vote, Nick, and it was pushing hard for us
Yeah.
to vote James. We were like, nope, don't want to vote James, don't want to vote James. So, I want to know if that was like trying for strategy, or if he was doing that because Tasha. But then Tasha didn't. That part confuses me a little too.
I really want to ask him about that, honestly, because that whole thing confused me too. Because then out of nowhere, he's like, well, Tasha knows that Duke's the vote. Well, Juan knows that Duke's the vote. Well, guess Duke knows he's the vote. I was like, oh no, all of a sudden all these people are messaging you telling you that Duke knows that, or well, that they all know that Duke's the vote. It was very weird. Um, and that's a good point. I really want to know like what the hell he was doing because it felt very weird. I felt that was weird too because I was on a call with James for like an hour and then I remember I like joined the Alliance call and he was like, "What were you two talking about?" And I was like, "Why are we like jumping down my throat?" Like I was talking to James, chill out. It was just like so bizarre because like he would go on those like spirals. Um, but that was one of them, and I really want to know if that was like something intentional, if he knew I was getting votes, um, and he was trying to save my ass to get us to vote James, but like he could have just said that. Like, I don't know.
I really don't. I think that Brady and I were the only ones that knew that we were going to do that. And then I think Brady let Michael in, but I had no idea Michael
Yeah.
was in
No,
on that.
you did. That's why I lied to you after.
Yeah.
So
It's
funny.
like I was like deny.
But the thing that the thing that I think Andrew does well, and I think that people could get mad at, is I think that Andrew twists words in a way that benefits him. Like you can say like the round where we're discussing options of the vote. I say the people that we can vote, and then Andrew will go right back to the people that I said are options to vote and say, Duke said your name, and so on. And I think that he
Mm,
twists it in a way that if you're not 100% socially connected with the person that he's twisting it with, he probably is more socially connected and he's able to get, that person against you, which I say kudos to that. It's a little bit of a sneaky thing, and if he owns it, like it's a point for him in my book. Um, but yeah, that's what
Michael,
I
The
think.
round
you
you
to tell
went is
me.
probably the best example of that in terms of Andrew doing that. Like the way he freaked Kyle out into voting you when Kyle was already voting you. But
Yeah.
he was just like calling Kyle saying, "Oh my God, I just talked to Duke. He's targeting you so hard. Like you have to vote for him. You're gonna go home." And it was very like it was already happening. Like no
Yeah.
offense, but
I
so
understand.
it was just like so much to
Yeah.
just confirm a vote that was already there out of fear that maybe it was all like a big ploy, that it wasn't actually what Kyle was doing, which is very ironic at the end of the day.
Did we want to talk about Tasha strategically?
we kind of didn't really talk too much about her, honestly, so maybe we should. Um, well, what we said before you like joined Duke was that, she was loyal to Andrew and Juan, and we don't really know what was going on there. Um, I honestly
Something.
personally only had one call with Tasha the entire game, and I didn't really talk to her that much. She would kind of just come to me and like tell me what she heard, but not tell me what she like where it was like the round when I was getting votes when Sky left, she came to me and was like, "Your name is out there and you're getting votes, but you're not going home." And I was like, "Wait, but like what's going on?" And she like would not tell me what's going. And she's like, "You're fine, just shut up and you're okay." And I'm like, "Okay." And so it's just very like I felt like she did that a lot where she would come to me and be like, "I heard this. Is that what we're doing?" And I'm like, I get like are okay, like who are you talking? Like it was very like, okay, sure. So I don't know how your conversations would go with her, but that's pretty much how we would go every round. Like
Very
Did that to
similar.
me too.
Yeah.
I found those conversations like that type of gameplay so annoying and frustrating,
it
honestly.
is.
Um, but I'm not gonna root that out because I'm not gonna be like I'm annoyed by that. I'm not. If she said that worked for me because X, Y, and Z, these were like the votes. Like if she's bringing out certain days and like time frames and why she talked to people, I'm gonna be like, damn, Tasha, like, you had this down pat and we had no idea. um, but
That'd be crazy. That'd be
I
crazy.
know
I would be shook. I'm not gonna lie.
I'd love that, honestly.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I agree that like I think that kind of gameplay is honestly infuriating because it feels so unintentional and more than out of how anyone else has played, it feels like the biggest smack in the face.
Yeah.
Which, like I said, if she reveals herself to be like absolute mastermind, like Tasha Stradlin Wolf, then do you know what I mean? Props to her. Otherwise, like, what the fuck? Why did you do that?
Yeah. I want to ask, so like after I like left, was Tasha like, so I feel like pre-merge, those who were on the swap tribe experienced Tasha. And at merge, I feel like she was a lot better. But I was curious if she like ever fell down that like route again of like how she was acting at that one tribal that we don't want to get into, but you know, she was
I think
a lot.
I think from my perspective, Tasha strategically was kind of, I would say, a follower to whatever, the other final two were doing. I think she was socially connected with them and kind of went along with what, you know, they wanted basically. But whenever trying to talk about, potential moves, I just felt like she was stuck in her way and was just gonna ride with those dudes until the end. And um really, I mean, ghost the person that she's voting out the day that she's voting them out. And then I thought it was kind of annoying at tribal, like she would just say who she's voting, and that was just it. And that's the last impression you had of Tasha. So I think
Actually,
it's terrible.
so oh, okay, I should bring this up. I completely forgot about this. So I got really close with Tasha actually for like a vote or two. I think it was like no, it was during the Kyla vote that I got really I talked to Tasha and like a lot. And we got very close. Had probably been the best conversation I had all game at that point. And we I maybe I want to remember this, and maybe she can clarify this too at FTC. But I remember us talking about who was probably the one running things, and we both like were like, okay, we'll say a name at the same time. And I think I said Andrew, and she said Juan. But yeah, and I think I know
That's kind
Andrew's
of
name.
tea.
Yeah, I think you. I don't think she said your name, Duke. I think it was one that. And yeah. And I should clarify that with her, but I'm pretty sure we both had said those two. So at that time, like early on, but yeah. So interesting how she's at final three with them.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That is interesting. Okay. Do we have anything else to say about Tasha strategically before we move on to social?
I think we should
I mean,
move
I
on to
think we
social.
just want context from
Okay.
Tasha. Like any type of context would be great, because like coming off mute to say who you're voting me out is like not exactly explaining things.
Yeah, because I know she did that a couple times, like coming off mute and being like, I'm sorry, so and so, I'm voting for you. And it's like, okay.
Damn.
And I mean, like, more than most of the time that happened, yes, that person went home, but like, still.
When that's the extent of your strategic talk, is she's telling you at the tribal that she's voting for you, there's really no strategic game behind talking to anybody. There's, it's
Mhm.
kind of a mute point at that point.
Yeah. It leaves a sour taste in people's mouth. Like,
Super sour.
yeah. Okay, so let's move on to social then, since that's pretty much on the same topic. So who do we want to start out with here?
Let's do Tasha.
Okay, let's stick on the Tasha train.
We have
Guys coming.
Okay,
start to the category.
right
Welcome.
on time.
You're just in time for them to start a new section. Can you hear us?
Oh my gosh.
Oh, we hear you.
Hear you.
Hi.
Okay, yes. Hi.
Well,
I was
well,
like, am I muted? Hi
your
guys.
fellow jurors have set their own rules for how they want to proceed through the players. I'll let them explain that to you. My part is just to be here and facilitate and make sure that everyone follows the rules of Triumph. We're going to be kind, make sure that we're talking about the players' games and not anything personal or about who they are as people or how they look, and just about if we like or dislike their game or talk about points about their game. And I will let someone on the jury take it away and tell you how they're proceeding, and they're just now getting to a new section. So perfect timing.
Okay, so hi Sky. So how we've been doing it is we divided it into physical, strategic, and social so that way we can like go through each of the finalists and like say pros and cons for each one and stuff like that. And so we already talked about physical and strategic, and we were about to talk about social. So if you wanted to like talk
Oh,
about
perfect.
anything that was related to physical or strategic,
Go ahead, say your piece.
yeah, you can go ahead.
You just add on to it.
Yes,
Just,
if you want.
If there's anything like physically or strategic about any of them you wanted to mention.
Or hear our thoughts
mean,
on it that you
physical-
missed.
Yeah, I mean, physical, in my opinion, like one kind of outshine both of them. Like I don't think there's really anything to discuss on that aspect of it. Strategical, I mean, obviously, I feel like one just kind of overshadowed both of them. They didn't, unless, like I said, like if they have something that they want to talk about, like I think Andrew could shine in the strategical aspect of things. I don't think Tasha has any strategic whatsoever to her game. Which also kind of ties into the social aspect that I think of as well. I think that has a big part of Tasha's strategic game. But yeah, I think that strategically it would definitely have to be something that, like, if that's what Andrew wants to claim, then he's gonna have to like speak up on it and like tell us why he did certain things. Why did he basically give up his game for one, supposedly give up his game for one or whatever, right? But yeah, those are my thoughts on that aspect.
Okay, perfect. So we were just about to talk about Tasha's social game. That's literally when you joined. So who would like to start us out here? Anyone?
I mean, I'll go ahead and start.
Okay.
Like,
Go ahead,
that's fine.
Sky.
I'll just go
For
ahead.
it.
Or is the mic is yours, girl.
Shout out to me just getting off work, YOLO, making money. But no, like I was saying about her strategic game going into her social game, like if she obviously was not very, I mean, at least from my perspective and from hearing other people talk, she was not very good at like communicating as far as like what she was doing when she was doing it. She wasn't giving anything. She was mostly like wanting to get everything from everybody. And I feel like if that's something, again, that she wants to claim on her end, where she's like, yeah, this is how I was like using my strategic aspect into the social of like I was just getting all the information for myself, then okay. But I think that her social game was probably the worst out of all three of them, 100%. Like
I
she
agree with that.
did not try, in my opinion.
I agree with that. I personally, I've talked socially with like Andrew and Juan quite a bit. Like we've been on calls together. Tasha, looking back, I don't think we actually ever went on a one-on-one call together at all. There were a couple group calls that we were both a part of, but beyond that, like socially, we didn't really talk that much. I don't really know much about her social game at all. So, like, this is kind of going back to what we were talking about with her strategic game a little bit. But if the last impression that we get is her coming off of mute and saying like, "Yes, I'm voting you at tribal," what are you actually like? Why not tell them before tribal starts?
Yeah, like I feel like for social, like I like to be, I like someone to make me feel comfortable. I want someone to make me feel like their best friend. Like I'm their bestie, that's social.
Yeah,
And
I'm same way.
yeah, and I feel like with Tasha, I felt like I was walking on eggshells. Like I had to like dance around what I was saying and feel like I was kind of intimidated. I didn't want Tasha to yell at me or like say something and like make me feel like I didn't want to like say the wrong thing in front of Tasha.
Right.
Versus Juan and Andrew, both of them, like they were so easy to talk to. Even despite Andrew's like, emotional times, like during like the last minute, during some points, like for the most part, he was pretty easy to talk to as well. Just able to just slip pretty crucial information into my ear easily, and he was able to take it in for me easily. Same with Juan, even though we didn't even have a working game relationship, which was crazy. So I felt they were just a lot easier to talk to about stuff.
I agree with that. I had one-on-one call with Tasha the whole game, and she was very paranoid that I was texting while I was on the phone with her. And that drove me up a wall because I was like, I'm literally sitting here talking to you like this. Who am I typing to, Miss Girl? But I don't know. I felt like she was a very paranoid type of person when it came to like the social stuff too, where she like wouldn't say a lot. Like I was saying before, like, she kind of would just be like, your name is out there, but you're not going home. And it's like, okay, but like from where, like what's going on? Like, you got to give me more than that, girl.
Along those same lines, I don't remember which tribal it was, but I remember there was one specific tribal where I think it was James that was talking to Tasha.
Mhm.
And Tasha wouldn't like say a name or something. I don't remember exact details, but I want to say that was James talking to Tasha. I could be completely wrong.
Yeah. That was a lot of the time, to be honest. So she would tell me bits of information, but then wouldn't tell me sort of like where it was coming from or what about it made her think that that was actually the case, which obviously makes anything that she tells you really difficult to to understand whether or not it's true. I think the most egregious incident of that being the fact that like she was repeatedly telling me that like Juan was talking shit about me. So Juan was she kept telling me that Juan was telling her that I was chatting shit about her behind her back, like in my one-on-one VCs with him, which is definitely like something that I'm going to bring up to both of them at Final Tribal, because I don't. At first, I had a much better relationship with Tasha throughout the game than I did with Juan. Mine and Juan's relationship was practically non-existent, and so, but also knowing how Tasha is and hearing it from everybody else, do you know what I mean? Just because she says that that's the case doesn't mean it's necessarily true. I do want to get to the bottom of it, but also there was just so many incidents like that where she would ask for so much trust and then give such little trust in return because she kept saying, "Oh well, what if it is true? What if it is true? What if you have been saying all those things about me?" And I said, "Here's why. Here's proved that I didn't say these things about you. Here is all these reasons why I wouldn't. Here's all these reasons why if I was going to say those things about you, I wouldn't fucking say it to Juan." Do you know what I mean? Like, just I couldn't explain it any clearer. And like I was saying it 5, 10 times over, and she goes, oh, I don't know, man. Like what? Like I don't know who to believe. I don't know who to trust. Like why would he say that? And I was like, because he doesn't want you to trust me. And she was like, oh, why would he say that? Why would he say that? I was like, are you like playing dumb or is this like I don't understand how you can be so obtuse, and it really just hindered any sort of relationship we had moving forwards, to the point where I figured if she votes with me, she votes with me. If she doesn't, she doesn't. And eventually she didn't. And I just thought, well, there's no love lost there, really.
And I think it would be so much better off because it puts you in a position where you don't really know if she's just saying this because she wants to vote you out or if she actually feels that way. And so it would be so much better. And I think multiple times it was just people were voting, either you out or somebody else out. And she just kind of wanted to, have it both ways and all the way up until she actually voted you out. So that, and then the fact that I think Tasha was terrible with the people that she voted out. I think that all the way, she wouldn't say anything to you all the way up until, the actual voting time. So I think her social game was not good. The worst of the three by far.
Funny story to add to that before we move on, because no one else was there yesterday when Tasha messaged me like yesterday morning for the first time in a few days because they just iced me, Laura, and Kyle out. And then she messaged me saying, "You're not going home today." I was like, suspicious.
Really?
And then Andrew messaged me saying, well, like the conditions of that are you're not going home, but she's also not going to save you if she wins immunity or if Andrew wins immunity. So the only instance I was not going home was if Juan didn't win immunity. And then throughout the day, her argument was like, well, I'm not voting out any more friends, so it has to be Dave. Which is like, if your whole plan was voting me out, like, why message me after 3 days of not talking, being like, you're not going home this morning?
That actually makes no sense.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Like, if your whole plan is voting me out, just tell me. Like, Juan called me and told me, and I'm like, cool.
Like,
Like,
I
just don't
think
tell
at
me you're
that point
not
it was
voting me
already
out.
obvious that they were gonna vote together. So like, why
course.
even like put up the act? Or if it wasn't act, I don't know what it was exactly, but why even put up the, oh, you're not going home?
Right, like, don't message me at all at that point. Like, why do that?
Why
There's
lie at
literally
Final
no
Four?
point. Like, I have nothing else to do. There's
Or
no
if
one
you
left.
or if she is gonna message you, be straight up with what's
Right,
going on.
exactly.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's crazy to me because especially in a final five situation or final four situation, like
Oh,
these people are going to jury, right? Like I just are you confused? Like
And like Final Four, you don't even have anything to lose because even if there were idols left in a game, like you can't use an idol at that
you
point.
can't use an
So
idol anyway. Right. Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, and if your argument is like, I'm not gonna go home if I win immunity, well, you didn't have to message me to tell me that. Like, it's kind of obvious already. So.
because if you win immunity, you can't be voted for in the
Right.
first place.
I think Tasha didn't want us to get eliminated peacefully. She wanted us to worry about it all the way up until the end.
Why make things easy, right?
Something else too, I feel like Tasha was the only one that got into arguments out of the final three, like consistently. And I feel like that's not
Publicly.
yes. Like during tribals and stuff like that. Which I feel like is not the best social game. But
Well, I
I
mean,
don't
I
know.
know there was that whole argument that me, Andrew, and Tasha had at Final Six with Rocks, but I mean, like, beyond that, yeah.
It made me want to like work with her less for that kind of reason, just because of how like confrontational she was in that sense, where she would kind of like, I don't know, be like up your ass if
Well,
you didn't vote the right way with her. But
I think one thing too that I did notice, like I don't know if Michael, Nick, if you guys remember the merge call that we were all
yes,
on, and
I know
she
exactly what you're
was
talking about.
throwing me under the bus without throwing me under the bus, and I said, Miss Girl, this is not it. Like, don't do that.
And then also
Like
Yes.
she
you
was
got the bus too.
Yeah, she threw me under the bus too.
Both
Because
of
she
you.
joined and she was like, I would have been the next one gone if we lost again. And I was like, well, you don't know that. And she was like, oh, Nick, please be for real. Be so for real right now. This, that, whatever. And it was like in the whole merge chat. I was like, damn, girl,
Oh yeah.
relax. Like,
I don't remember that, but
there wasn't that
Yeah,
many
that's
people there at the time, but I was still like, girl, this is not the best. So yeah, I feel like she was very confrontational, which is like good and bad at the same time, but like it made me want to work with her less for that reason.
Right. Well, I mean, she became the person that everybody was like, I can take her to the end and beat her.
Yeah.
That's who she
Yeah.
became.
Mm-hmm.
She became that person. So, you know.
It's a great way to make Final Three.
Right.
Remember the Tasha James tie argument?
How could I
Mate.
forget?
That was the
Enlighten
thing
me.
as well. She was so like anxious all the time about like she kept saying to me, "I'm so anxious.
Yes.
You're gonna turn to me. You're gonna turn to me." And I was like, "Do you remember when you like?" And it just wanted to scream at her face and go, "Do you remember when you tried to get me voted out on the swap tribe?"
Yes.
And then you had one person. So like, I'm not going to say too much about him because he's not here to defend himself. But me and Ty did not have the best relationship on swapped Koryak, and um yeah, it became a bit confrontational, a bit argumentative. Um, but then Tasha was like scheming behind my back to try and get rid of me with Ty, and then when she realized that wasn't going to work out, came like came back groveling almost. It was, um, and then when I said in the following vote, I said just vote for Ty. Really because I just couldn't because the time before she was being like argumentative and she kept asking what are we doing? Are we still going according to the plan? This was on the Gigi vote. Who we voting for? Are we sticking to the plan? We sticking to the plan. And like Andrew literally had to like shut her down in I don't know if anyone remembers that in tribal and be like, Tasha, stop, you're acting like crazy. And yeah, like
Wasn't she the
it was
one
the
to
whole
kind of get rid of the possibility of you going home that vote?
pardon.
Nick or Dave, wasn't she the one who like kind of James? Wasn't she? Did she expose that? Like, like the plan wasn't to vote you at that point, James, but didn't she kind of bring that to light that that idea was out there?
I think so.
Thought she did.
So I knew that I couldn't trust her. I didn't know that she was actually like trying to get rid of me actively until Ty brought it up at tribal.
Okay.
Okay.
But I obviously tried to downplay it at that point and be like, yeah, she already told me that's nothing, but she hadn't already told me that was it was news to
Okay.
me.
Did we want to move on to Juan or Andrew's social game?
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, I kind of have a hot take, but I want to hear you guys first.
About who? So we could talk about that person.
Well, okay, so this is my personal humble opinion. I honestly feel like regardless of whatever however people feel emotionally, I think Andrew had a way better social game than Juan did. As far as like connecting himself to people in a sense, because like Juan is very dry, very stoic, doesn't really give off a whole lot. And I just felt like because I had Andrew, I don't know how many of y'all had Andrew pretty high up in your trust rankings, but I had him very high up in my trust rankings.
Yeah.
I definitely had
and
I definitely had Andrew higher than one quite a few
yeah,
times.
and I trusted Andrew so much. He was easy to talk to, easy to communicate with. He made you feel very personable and very like you can trust me, like I got your back, whatever. Obviously that was a mistake on my part, some of the other people here, but yeah, that's my little hot take.
I agree with that. I feel like Andrew did a really good job of like doing the social thing. Like right when we swapped, Andrew had came to me because he knew I liked Pokemon and he like told me all about like his anime like stuff. Like it was like crazy. Me and him had a whole like hour-long conversation where we spoke nothing about the game and everything personal and about like all of the similar hobbies that we had and all of this stuff. And it made me like literally like love him so much that I was like, oh, I'm literally working with this man no matter what because of how much I really liked him. And I feel like he did a good job at that. I don't know how you guys were with that because like I had so much in common with him personally, but like I just loved talking to Andrew just about like life and stuff like that, not involving the game.
I know there was at least one day that I had a really crappy day, and he was going through it too at the time. It was right around the ice cup break the ice challenge, because I was on call with him when that result came out. But we were just hanging out on call, literally just chilling, no game talk, no nothing, and even just being with him, that greatly helped my mood, honestly. So I do relate to that a little bit.
Yeah, no, I felt like, I actually engaged with both of them socially. But I feel the difference between them was that I was in alliances with Andrew, multiple ones. Andrew was easy to get into alliances with. And we had deeper conversations even on the merge compared to that I did with Juan. I mean, I like played Fortnite with Juan and like did a lot with Juan, but not alliances or games like social game talk. I feel like that can still be a little bit different than strategy, and I feel like I did that a little bit more with Andrew than I did Juan. So I feel the same way about Andrew. He was higher up in my trust rankings as well.
Way higher than the other two for me. Honestly, it's quite funny now on reflection that Juan and Tasha have made top three, because those two were almost every single time the bottom two on my trust rankings.
They were pretty close to the bottom for me, honestly.
Because
They were on my hit
anytime
list.
anything.
Oh no, James, we lost you.
Oh no!
Oh, anytime I said anything, it always came back around. Oh God.
Okay, you're
Oh,
back
no.
now.
You're stable.
Maybe not.
I don't know how much you guys can see. Oh, no.
You're stable. Kind of. Oh, good.
I
It's
think you're
okay,
good
it's
now.
okay.
Yeah, I think you're good now.
Right. Okay. Just forget about me. It's someone else talk.
I agree with that. It's interesting because like if I didn't know Juan from outside the game, he would not have been high up on my rankings at all. Because like I said, we didn't really talk that much. But like I knew I could trust him for that reason. And it's like if I didn't have that reason, he probably would have been towards the bottom with Tasha, because Tasha was all the way on the bottom for me. So I do agree with what you guys are saying. Whereas Andrew, I feel like Andrew always made an effort to talk to me a lot, even if it wasn't even about the game. He just wanted to like chat, which I really appreciated. I didn't get that much from the other two.
I definitely think that Andrew was definitely the most personable, the best
Yes.
conversationalist of the two.
Yes.
I was working closely with Juan throughout the game, so I do feel like he was at least social with me when we needed it to be. And I prefer that as opposed to somebody that plays the way that Andrew does socially, just because it makes me a little nervous if everybody is loving Andrew, then he's kind of who does he really care about? But
was a friend in none.
right.
Right, exactly that, Michael.
Yeah.
So I will give Andrew props because I wasn't aware of how good he was socially with everybody that is here now. So that's something new to me.
Do you want to talk about Juan's social game?
Let's do it.
What
Okay.
social game?
Oop.
Like, be so for real. Like, the thing is that I mean, I know everybody's gonna have their own experience. Like Dude just said, like he obviously talked to Juan a lot. And I did feel like I talked to Juan a little bit, but it was never going past anything like game related. Like we tried, but I know that I spoke to some of you guys even, and I was like, it's so hard to talk to Juan because I feel like I'm forcing conversations. And it was so difficult. And I felt like I was trying so hard, but he was just like, shut off is what it felt like. It felt like he was completely shut off for me. And when I talk to some of you guys too, like, or I hear some of what y'all are saying about how like he was very just like not emotional in any aspect, and like just very, you know, blank faced, I guess you could say. But yeah, I mean, and that was my personal experience, is that it just every conversation that I tried to have with him was just so forced, and like it just was super draggy.
Yeah, I felt like I always had to reach out to Juan for social. Um, but something that I wanted to bring up that I am still kind of thinking about is, and this could be him dropping the ball too, but like with his physical game kind of being known pretty early on in the game, I wonder if that is dropping the ball, or if him shutting his mouth and being kind of silent and not really engaging with people is strategy within his social game to kind of know to do that, so that people don't look at him as being like, oh, you're well connected and you're like physically strong. Um, I mean, did he like switch up towards like the later half of the game, or was he always pretty stoic and not really talking in the game?
I think just Juan as a person is probably just stoic. I think that he was thrust into positions where he had to be physical for like our tribe to win. So like I give him props for like stepping up, because I know that some people don't want to do that, put a target on their back and whatnot, but he did it for the betterment of the tribe. But yeah, I mean, everybody has their different interactions with the final three, and maybe Juan could have reached out more to those who needed it. So totally understand.
I
Oh,
think
I
that
know who the mastermind was.
I I think that from the sounds of it, Juan burned the least amount of bridges out of the final three with us. Yes, no?
Mm-hmm.
Because
100%.
Juan socially, like he would talk to you, like I've heard multiple people on this call say he would talk to you up to the until he voted you out, and he would tell you that he was voting you out at least, which is
He didn't
something.
tell me.
Well, that was
Which
for specific
which
reasons.
yeah, which that well, and that's what I'm saying. Like I mean, I guess if he's gonna sit there and claim that he spearheaded my vote or whatever the case may be, I just want that to be clarified, because I don't want to give him credit for something that he didn't do either. And if
Actually,
it
we could
was
like
his
clear that up.
thing, do what?
But we could clear that up right now.
I was about to say that. Duke, did you actually do that, or was it one of the people still in the
For-
game?
It's gonna be a dogfight for Andrew and Juan to claim that, but those are the people that I was aware that were pushing
Okay.
it.
'Cause
That's how
that's-
it got to me.
Okay, because the two of them, at least from my perspective, I don't know how everyone else feels about it on this call, they made it seem like you like brought it up to them and they pushed it to us, and like, yeah, that's kind of how. So I don't
I
know
had
which of the two it was that like concocted the whole thing.
the only I had a phone call with Juan, and we talked about Sky not wanting to work, like not wanting us to work together. Like whenever we were talking to Sky about working with one another, me or Juan, it seemed like we were getting resistance, and so
Yeah,
I left.
that's the reason that Juan had given me for voting Sky.
Yeah,
Which is so okay, that's a totally different conversation, but keep going. Sorry.
so that's how I left the call. I at that point was fine with voting for Laura instead of Sky. But then 2 to 3 hours before the vote, Juan told me that Andrew said, "Why don't we just vote for Sky?" And I was like, if that's how it's gonna go, that's how it's gonna go. I would prefer to vote for Laura, but and then all of a sudden the numbers were there. So I don't know who between those two concocted it, but that's how it got back to me. And then obviously I got framed for it. But yeah, that'll be an interesting thing to figure out, I guess.
But
Yeah,
Nick,
because like
we were on a voice chat with Andrew the night before that vote, and we talked
Yes.
about voting
Yes,
Sky
Dave.
because we thought Laura had the idol.
Yes.
And then we're talking like, is that even possible? Are there going to be numbers for it?
Yeah. Because Andrew was nervous of how Sky would react if we blindsided Laura. And then someone was just like, well, why don't we just vote Sky? I think it was me. And then it kind of just I didn't think anything actually would have happened from that. And then the next day it was just like all this, that, whatever. So I don't know who actually concocted it because I was told that like Duke and Juan had the conversation, and then Juan came to me and was like, I just spoke to Duke and this, that, whatever. So like I don't know what the hell happened or what should the two of them concocted the whole damn thing, but I'm sure one of them or both of them are going to try to claim it tomorrow. So I'm very interested
I
to
would
see
hope
that.
one of them tries to claim it.
I mean, I would hope so too. I feel like they're both gonna try to though, and
So what if none of them tries to claim it?
Because
though?
they pinned it
It's a
on
long
Duke so quickly. Like they were so vocal about the fact that it was
Yeah.
all Duke's idea, and then Duke was like, "What the fuck?" Like,
yeah.
Yeah, I think that like I don't know, and maybe that's the question that I asked just the two of them, is just being like, I just need clarification, like whose idea was it, and just get a clarification on that. Because if one of them can own up to it, okay, fine. But if they're both fighting for it, then I'm like, well, so then was it neither of your guys' idea? Because it was, because obviously you guys have had a discussion the night before, right? So then like, who's gonna take credit for it? Like,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, it was a good move, like congratulations, but still, I just want to know like who's gonna own up to it.
You need to know who did it to give credit.
Exactly.
Because and I think the biggest thing for me right now is because if it's something that Juan did, okay, put it towards a tally for his strategical move and his social move, right? That gives him a point for that. But if it wasn't his move and Andrew is the one that started that, then like I'm gonna give it to him, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's interesting.
It
I guess
is.
like like Andrew was clearly the mouthpiece of the trio, but was Andrew the one coming up with the ideas, or was Juan coming up with the ideas and giving them to Andrew to tell everyone?
And then
Right.
Andrew was telling you, right? Yeah.
Because then it gets all the blood on Andrew's hands too at the end of the day, which is why we're all sitting here being like, well, Juan didn't burn any of bridges with us because Andrew did it all for him. We
Right.
don't know.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to figure out, the hierarchy of who's coming up with the plan, who's kind of got the connections. You can only hear what they have to say though.
Yeah, I mean, they obviously did something, because I literally clocked it round freaking one that they were all three working together, and it was all because of the whole James situation. And so like clearly there's something, either they formulated it, and that's my thing, like as a jury member, like I literally, that is what I'm looking for. I want to know all aspects of your game. Like, was this, because if they were just a strong trio that came together, actually worked together, planned out everything, and was strategic about it, then great. Kudos to you, because you made final three, you did what you needed to do. But if it was just like pure luck, and because each of you played your own individual game, like I don't know, I would be more accepting of them being a final three if they actually like played the game and was strategic about it.
Mhm.
Well, shit.
Anyone else have anything they want to say regarding social game? I guess I feel like we talked about everything.
You guys want to talk about any particular questions that you want to bounce around in terms of like making sure you're not duplicating questions, and who wants to kind of like touch on any special type of thing so that you guys know what. I know Laura mentioned that already in the chat what she wants to do, but if anybody else has any special things they want to plan and ask, this is
Yeah.
so
That's
you
a good idea, Keisha.
ahead of time. If you don't know exactly what you're gonna ask, that's fine, but sometimes people have special things they ask, and you can kind of put that out there so you understand the lay of the question, so that you're not all asking the same type of question.
Right.
Like,
And like I have an idea of what I'm gonna ask. I've already written down some thoughts. I'll probably send those to our jury chat just so you guys can read them over and have an idea of what I'm gonna do, so that Yeah.
Laura, were you still planning on doing the raise your hand thing?
Yes. Yes. That's something
that
I
be
always
s-
do.
Would that be smart for you to go first so we can kind of just get like an impression on
If you guys want me to go first and you want me to do that,
Oh yeah,
I'm
that would be.
It's based on
I'm
how
all for it.
far you were
How are we?
on the game. It's only changing. We said, let us know if you can't be there.
Yeah. I mean, I can honestly do whenever, so
As long as you're there, you're going in the order that you
Yeah.
were you left the game.
Okay.
And I don't
Okay.
know when I'm good, but I think I already said, like, I'm just gonna ask them. I don't have any questions for Tasha. I don't have anything for her. But I am pretty much just gonna ask. Why? What's so funny? I don't have any
No,
questions.
no, cause this Duke said me too.
But I mostly I think I'll probably just ask like Juan and Andrew like who's gonna take credit for my vote out. That's gonna be
I
my
think that's a
question.
very fair question for you to ask because we're all
Yeah.
trying to figure that out. So
Because I don't freaking know. Because when you came in and you said it was Duke, and I was like,
that's what I was told.
yeah.
That'll start the
so
night
that-
off with a bang.
Mhm.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. I'm gonna try to get on. I do have to get off here though, but I loved hearing your guys' thoughts though. I appreciate that. Yeah, this is gonna be interesting. I'm interested to see how this is gonna go tomorrow.
Are we all wearing the same color?
Oh, well, I'm gonna
What
be in scrubs.
color?
I'm wearing gray.
Everybody wear gray?
I mean, my work shirt is gray and it's like an
Gray.
hour after I get off work, so I could hypothetically just do that.
I don't think I own anything grey, and it's
I
gonna
could-
be like 5 a.m. here. Not a joke. The grey will be like the bags under my eyes.
All right, guys, I'm gonna hop off here, but love y'all.
Not James.
Hi.
Yeah,
Love you,
James.
Sky.
5 a.m. there. It is 7 o'clock when tribal starts, and you're only 5 hours behind your scopes.
You are? No, I'm 5 hours ahead.
Well, ahead, I mean, but that's still not 5 a.m. Do the math.
That is, it starts at midnight. No,
No, it starts at 7 p.m. It
Oh,
starts at
midnight
midnight
for
for
him.
you.
oh god, that's worse. Okay.
Right. I've done that before Central Time, so that I won't yell at you for because I definitely have adjusted time and then adjusted time again for getting that.
Oh yeah, I've done that before. Just be like,
Okay.
James is
Yeah.
gonna hop onto an empty tribal at 5 a.m.
Yeah, literally, no one's there. I'm like, what happened? The Facebook post only up.
So I have to hop off, but I wanted to run some of my questions by y'all. If that's okay.
Okay.
go for it.
Yeah. So I value like listening a lot in the game. Like, so I was kind of I wanted to ask all them like how they kind of utilize like listening to people and understanding like how they took in information and utilized that throughout the game. So I really just want to hear them explain that. And honestly, I also want to understand why I want to clarify if Tasha and I actually both said those two names and why she is at the final three with those two people. Because we said that we had this long talk and we said that during the Kyle Emblet vote, and now she's at final three with those two people. So I really want to understand why.
Why she chose
And-
to go with them?
Well, why? Yeah, like why? Yeah, after knowing that we had both said those two names early on.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe I got those two names wrong. So I just want clarification on that. And then two, also, maybe y'all can clarify this for me, right? But I want to know like who voted me out and like who out of those three was in on it too and why. And like I know everyone voted me, but like who was in the group that did that? Yeah. Mhm.
Well, if you want to know about who voted you out, I mean, from the perspective of the people who were in the game when Michael was voted out, how do you guys think it went down?
I think
I was-
I thought you or Kyle did it.
Pretty sure it was Juan.
But- Look, there you go.
Okay, Juan.
He's the
That's
first
new
person I
information.
talked to about it. Like
Okay.
we talked
We
right
stand.
after the results, and we were going through the names, and like I made it clear that I was voting you, and then the next morning everyone was voting you. So
because I thought Juan was not in the in the group like that was formed. Do you guys was there an alliance formed, y'all? Because y'all
So
tell me.
from my
No, that was
perspective,
after you left.
oh, go ahead. Sorry. From my perspective, I didn't tell Juan anything. I was definitely pushing to sort of like take out somebody who had just blindsided Nick. And honestly, memory's a bit hazy, but like you were definitely one of the
I think it was Brady versus
were,
Michael.
yeah, you were like the consensus name that came up. More so than Brady. And then I never told one, but I wouldn't be surprised if Andrew told one, because that is how, from my perspective, it seems as though any plans that one was in on, it's because Andrew looped him in.
So then who told Andrew?
Me, I told Andrew.
Okay, so it didn't start with one, or wait, so
From my perspective, it didn't start from one, but to be fair, like it's all a matter of perspective, because like one might have had the same idea, and then from his perspective, he thinks that I was looped in on it. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
But from the conversations that I was having, it didn't seem like one was the one who originated that plan.
Okay. Because if it went
Juan,
from Andrew
Juan
to
wasn't Juan wasn't in on the plan to blindside me. So
No, he wasn't.
makes sense. But Andrew was.
Andrew was.
Yeah.
Even though he didn't want to do it, he was in on it.
Okay.
okay, that
See,
clears something
that's
up for me too.
that's
He was,
Andrew's
he was saying that
game,
he didn't want to do it, but I was like,
He
I think
didn't.
did want
He
to do
really
it.
did not. He was begging us to vote for James. And the three of us were like, no, we're voting for Duke. So sorry.
Fuckers. I'm glad what happened.
And then and then it was funny because like right before like tribal, maybe like 5 minutes before, like Juan messages me and he's like, yo, are we really voting Duke? So Juan really had no idea what was up.
I actually, because Brady had told me, and we came to onto your name, and I was like, I'm just gonna send out some feelers to some people, see if they know what's about to go down. So she had let him Juan in on it, and he actually was like, I think it's gonna be you. So I was like, I could trust Juan. Some other people, no. That's good to
Sorry.
know. I don't know what I'm gonna ask, guys. I think it's gonna be a case-to-case basis on once. Night, Michael.
I'm gonna head out.
Bye, Michael.
This was awesome. Thank you all for this.
It's gonna be a case-to-case basis on what they say. And maybe I'll just fill in the gap on if we come up with a question based off of one of their responses that we need more clarity on. But I'll try to think of something if that doesn't happen, and I'll try to put it in the jury chat. I have to think about what I'm gonna say.
I do too. I really haven't thought too much about it. I kind of want to ask Juan why I should vote for him other than me knowing him from before this, because I feel like I didn't really work with him that much. I feel like I worked a lot with Andrew, and like I don't know, I personally am leaning more Andrew than I am anyone else, but like I want to hear Juan's game really, really bad. And I feel like something like that would get him to talk more about it. Um, and as for Andrew, I kind of want to ask him how he was able to like control his emotions, because it sounds like they were a little bit much sometimes. And like along the lines with Tasha too, because Tasha kind of, it was like the same thing. Like I know you, Laura, and Duke were not there for the infamous tribal that we've had pre-swap, but that has literally like been imprinted in my brain where I'm just like, holy crap. And I feel like she didn't act like that much afterwards, so I kind of want to know like how, like what she learned from that. Was she able to like control herself better after that? Like her thoughts behind it essentially. But other than that, like I don't have anything written down or anything like that either, so I need to think about it.
Dave, I know that you have your question already ready,
His
but
I
thesis.
sure do. Honestly, I'm not exactly sure what I'm gonna ask Juan. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna ask Tasha about her reads on the game because I feel like most of them were wrong. And like going back to the swap, like she thought for sure they were going to rocks. She thought for sure going after me was a safe bet because I could never find an idol. She thought for sure that voting Kyle was the right move until the next morning where she messaged in like tribe chat, oops, I think it was a mistake. So like she had a lot of wrong reads, but I want to know if she had any like correct reads because I don't feel like she did. And she never talked about her reads. Like we were talking about the fact that she doesn't give context. So like you just state facts, but there's no context, but then all your reads are wrong. It's kind of weird and awkward for me to reward that game. But I have no idea what I'm gonna ask Juan. So if anyone has any ideas, I'm super open because I'm gonna go last. So all the good questions are gonna get picked. So
All right.
How many words is your speech? Are you gonna tell us?
there's quite a few. I could do a poll in the jury chat if you want.
Let's get some
I
You know you
overthinkers
only get
going.
10 minutes.
Shout out. I mean, the last edit was like 350-ish. There's
Okay.
so yeah. So it's a yes or no question. That's the funniest part. Like there's just build up to it.
How long are you guys finished with your roundtable discussion?
I think
This was
so.
productive. Very productive.
I
New stuff
agree.
learned.
I agree. I learned a lot tonight.
You did a great job, everyone. Covered it in an hour 45 minutes. I will stop the recording.